So we are in our Conservatory Canada Theory 1 lesson here today. We're working through the review test number 2, pages 66 to 70, and we're just looking at all of the various questions. There are 11 questions here with a total mark out of 100. And you have a place that you can write your name. You can write your first name and last name, however you wish to do that. And our goal is to work our way through, and we're going to get 100% regardless, no matter what we do. So we're going to randomly pick questions through 66 to 70, and we have a person here on the other side of the camera who's going to pick a question. What number are we going to do?
1.
Question 1? Excellent. Write the notes. Use half notes. Typical exam question that you might get for your first question. So we have a whole bunch of them, some of them using ledger lines. So I'm just going to suggest we work our way through the question. Let me know when you've got the question done for question 1. We're writing notes as half notes, so keep that in mind. And if we have questions along the way, we can ask those questions. I want to also let you know that this review test is an open book test, and you are allowed to look back if there's something you're not sure of. So use your knowledge to answer the questions that you know. Look back to see the questions that you might need a little extra help on. And let me know when you got the question done or if you have questions.
How do I use the ledger line for the A?
Okay, so ledger lines, again, are notes that go outside of the staff. They're basically adding extra staff lines. Our staff has 5 lines. The eye visually sees them. So we have choices of either going above or below the staff. If we went to the top note on the staff in the treble clef, what note is the top note around the line?
F.
F. Every good boy deserves fun, or whatever word you chosen to use. We have an F at the top. Now, I think to myself, F is a line note. If I skip to the next line, this is adding a 6th line, what note do I get?
A.
You get an A, absolutely. So the A gets a single ledger line, an oval around that ledger line, and a stem pointing down, and it should look something like this. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
All right, we got our answer right there, making sure, well, we can see that ledger line note right up there. And any other questions along the way?
No.
Okay, let me know when the question is done. You can bring it right up to the screen and I'll take a good look at it.
Okay.
While we're working on that, I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to kind of go over the format of the other ones. Question 2, add stems and beams to make groups of 3 eighth notes in each bar. If you are not sure how to do that, check back on what we did for those 3 8-time beams and stems. Question 3, add appropriate bar lines to each example. And we have some interesting time signatures, 3/8, 3/16, and 2/4. Question 4, something we haven't done since a couple of months back. Identify each of the following pairs of notes as chromatic semitones, diatonic semitones, whole tones, and enharmonic notes. Then question 5 is a tricky one. Rewrite each of the following examples, grouping the notes properly using beams. Remember to include the time signature, so keep an eye open for that one. There are, 3 examples of that? That goes over 67 and 68. On page 68, one of my favorites is adding time signatures. I always enjoyed doing that. That's question 6.
I have a question.
Okay, we got a question here. Yes.
How do I do 2 ledger lines for C?
Okay, so We know middle C. What saying do we use for the lines in the bass clef?
Empty garbage before that flips.
It can't start if E is on the treble clef. It has to start on a different letter for the bass clef. Any ideas?
Great big drums from Africa.
Great big drums from Africa will work. I like myself, for whatever reason, I like Good Birds Don't Fly Away, but I love great big drums from Africa. So if I go great big drums from Africa, Africa is up at the top. I add a ledger line. That means that I skip a letter. What note do I get? By adding the first ledger line.
C.
And which C in particular is that?
Middle.
It's middle C. It's only got one ledger line. It's not going to work. So, I think we got Zurek. We got a dog looking at going after the cats. Okay, so you mentioned great big drums from Africa. So we have great is on the bottom of the staff. That's our G. Skip a letter going backwards, and what do you get for the first ledger line?
F.
G, F. We have to skip the F.
E.
So we get an E. We're not on a C yet. Skip back a letter name for the second ledger line. And what letter do you get?
C.
We get the C. And how I remember it, this is one, they call it a landmark note. Low C has two ledger lines below the staff in the bass clef. High C actually has two ledger lines above the staff in the treble clef. Middle C sits right in the middle, top of the bass staff and the bottom of the treble staff. And then we have our regular Cs that are in our sayings. In the bass clef, it is all cows on the second space. And we have the C from face in the treble clef, F-A-C. So we have a whole bunch of Cs. Landmark, low C, double ledger line, all cows, middle C, C from face, and we have the double ledger line way at the top there for our high C. So that low C should look something like that. Oh, can you see that there?
Yeah.
Awesome, and I'll bring that up close to the screen here too. We can see I drew it off to the side just because I would have ended up drawing it into the note. And any other questions about that one? Just while that's being finished, I'm just going to jump back to page 69 in the review. Another fun one to do, rewrite each of the following examples, correcting, if necessary, the time signature, improper grouping of notes, beams, and direction of stems. That's question 7. So basically, it's a correct the errors. Regardless of how many there are, I noticed that the question is marked out of 10. I was always taught, if there are 10 marks, look for 10 errors. There may be 10 errors and there may not be. I like to keep a running tally to see how many I get. On question 8, we have our favorite question, add correct rests under the brackets. Follow the rules. And then question 9, quadruple time has blank, so we have some fill in the blanks. Questions 10 and 11 have some terms. Some of them you will know, and others you may not know. If you don't know them, Google them. Google doesn't always tell us what the conservatory wants to know, though, either. So we can't necessarily fully trust, but we can at least get an idea. For ones that Google even has a problem with, or that you can't figure out, wait till your next lesson and I will go over those terms with you. Notice in question 11, you must spell the Italian term correctly to get your mark as well. So, is that first question all done?
Yeah.
Let me take a look at it. Bring it right up to the screen. Awesome. It is looking good here. Yep. So Keenan, you did a really, really good job with this. I want you to take a look though. You would not get full points, unfortunately, for it. Are all of your flats and sharps, which you have for those notes, written directly on the same line or space as the note itself?
have that are...
Okay, they're a little higher or lower. Sometimes I think most of them may be a little higher. If you can, since it's a review test, I would recommend just do the quick corrections. So what I'm getting at here is as we draw the notes, I'm going to put this up here first of all, we want those notes to be, the flats and sharps to be drawn on the same line or space as the note, so that we really are letting us know which notes are sharp or flat there. If they are a little higher or a little lower, say that flat is written on the 4th line in the treble clef instead of on the 3rd, it's telling us that D is flat and there isn't a D. So I would imagine you would get partial marks because you did a good job with the question, but you must put those flats and sharps in the same line or space. And if we're all done with that, what's the next question, Mr. Keenan?
Add stems and beams to make groups of 3/8 notes.
Okay, so for these groups of 3/8 notes, what do we do with 3/8 time? Do we do them singles? Do we do a pair and a single? Do we beam all three together? What do we do?
Beam them together.
We do, because I call these the little time signatures. The little time signatures are those ones with 16th notes, we beam them all together. 2/8 and 3/8, we beam all together. By the time we reach 4/8, we usually start separating beats into groups of 2. So now we're going to do this. Now, the only thing that's hard about this question is picking stem direction. So in the first measure, would you say that the stems should go up or down?
Down.
Down, absolutely. The first note is a down stem. The third note is a down stem. The second note is actually an up stem. The general rule is whichever note is furthest away from the third line is the one that we're going to go with. In this case, also, we can go with rule of majority. I try to just eyeball the stems and make them look as neat as I possibly can. Hopefully, the answer for that first bar looks something like this. Yep. And then we're just adding the stems and beams to all of them. So, continue along. And for the second measure, just let me know if they are up or down stems.
Down.
Yep. And for the next one.
Down.
In this case, I would say you could go in either direction because the last one is on the middle line. It's allowed to go in either direction. The top note is a down stem, or sorry, is a no. Okay, yeah, they could go down or up. They could go down or up. I actually chose for them to go up for some reason because, but interestingly, I think you're probably with the correct response. They should go down. I am going to change that right now.